This is Jim from Better Slots, and today I'm going to cover a couple of issues that can occur with a bottom monitor on a AVP Smld type machine. These are a transmissive screen overlaid onto a standard LCD screen, and although it's very hard to see in my video, a very common problem is that there's a smoke or haze behind the glass, and it doesn't look so good, so we want to clean it. Another very common problem on these is the fans behind here are bad, and sometimes you won't even know it unless you run your machine for about 15 minutes till it gets nice and hot and everything expands, and you'll suddenly notice these fans will start to stop spinning, or they'll just kind of jiggle in place. These fans are critical to this monitor working properly, so changing them out with new fans is a very good idea. To take this monitor out, it's really very easy. There are 4 nuts total, one at each corner, top left, bottom left, top right, bottom left. It's a 7mm. I use a socket driver to take it out. You're going to want to unhook all your video cable, your power cable, and your serial cable from the machine. And once you do that, take the nuts out, you can take the monitor out. So I'm going to pause for a moment while I do that here, and then we'll pick up with how to remove the rear cover. Okay, I have the monitor out of the machine and on my work table here. Before I proceed here, as a disclaimer, I'm not there with you helping you with your monitor, and I cannot be responsible for your actions, and therefore, if you hurt your monitor, please do not call me back. The first thing I want to point out with this monitor, and most critical, is you'll notice on the one side there is a very small, thin ribbon cable. This is the touchscreen control ribbon cable. If you look down the side, it's usually covered with foil. This cable is extremely sensitive. It is a no touch, no stress type thing. You do not want to touch that at all. Avoid at all costs. Okay, I'm going to flip the monitor over, and I'm going to show you what you have to remove the rear panel. Okay, it's hard for me to set up the camera to show you all the screws I'm removing, so I'm just going to show you real quick, and then I'll set up the camera and I'll do it. Position your monitor this way. The first thing I would do is I would remove this cable, just take a picture or use my video to remember the orientation of how it goes back in. There's a little bracket here that you want to remove with these 2 screws here and here. Then, starting at the top left, you're going to remove these 2 screws. You're going to remove these 2 screws. You're going to remove these 2 screws. Leave this screw and this screw alone. Just leave those in place. And then moving to the side, I'm on the right side now. Leave this screw alone and leave this screw alone. These 3 screws come out. Then moving down, these 3 screws come out. Leave this screw and this screw alone. Just leave them in place. And by the way, when you remove these screws, this bracket will come off. This is just a mounting bracket. And then moving to the left side, this screw and this screw, leave those alone, leave them in place. And then these 3 screws grouped together, remove these screws. Remove these 3 screws and then leave these 2 screws alone in place. And again, this bracket will come off. Okay, that's it. I'm going to set up the camera, and you can watch me do it. Okay, I'm going to start removing everything. You're going to want to have a dish handy to throw everything into. Try to keep each screw tight separated. Okay, I've got everything removed. I'm going to reposition the monitor here to show you something important. Okay, I'm looking at the side of the monitor where that very delicate touchscreen cable's at. You'll see that there's some protective foil covering. Sometimes it's loose and sometimes it's stuck on real tight. If it's tight, what I'll do is I'll take an X-Acto and cut away from this cable here, but I need to release this because we're going to be removing this back panel off of the front. So I'll try to see about where it's at, put an X-Acto here, and then just cut away, so I'm basically breaking this line here. And then on the side where it's loose, if yours is loose, you can just carefully, without touching the cable, the point is to get the foil separated from this upper monitor so that you can freely remove it. Okay. Okay, so we're now going to remove this rear panel off the back of the monitor to expose the fans so that we can change them out. What you need to notice along the lengths of the monitor are these little locking tabs, and then of course there's the space behind between the SPAC shell and the front frame of the monitor itself. So I'm going to be using two different widths of flathead screwdrivers to slowly start the process of working this up. I just put it in there and turn the screwdriver. You can see it's starting to lift, and you don't want to just focus on one corner. You just start working your way all the way around the monitor. And once I get it up to a certain height, I'm going to use this bigger flathead screwdriver so that I can pry it up more. And eventually you'll see that the tab actually comes out of the frame and it's released. And that's what you want. Okay? So you just complete the process until each tab is out. I'm going to set up the camera here so you can see me remove it.